On October 15th, 2025, President Trump did something no American president has ever done publicly. A reporter asked, "Why did you authorize the CIA to go into Venezuela?" And Trump said, "I authorized it." For 70 years, the CIA has operated in the shadows. Presidents never confirm covert operations. It's an unwritten rule. But Trump just broke it. And if you know CIA history in Latin America, you know exactly what happens next. Because I analyzed every CIA operation in Latin America since 1954. Guatemala, Chile, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Cuba. And they all followed the same playbook, the same pattern, the same 3 phases. Venezuela is entering phase 2 right now. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what phase 3 looks like. But here's what you need to stay until the end for. At minute 27, I'm going to show you a CIA document from 1973, recently declassified, that lays out the exact step-by-step plan for regime change. And Venezuela is following that script word for word. If I'm right, we'll see a coup attempt within 90 days, possibly sooner. You're watching this right now because you're about to witness history repeat itself in real time. You are on Warfront alert. And for the next 30 minutes, I'm taking you inside the CIA's Venezuela operation. Let's begin. Let me show you the exact moment this became real. October 15th, 2025. Trump is in the Oval Office with law enforcement officials. A reporter from NPR asks the question, "Mr. President, the New York Times is reporting you've authorized CIA covert operations in Venezuela. Can you confirm?" Trump said, "I authorized for 2 reasons, really. Number 1, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. And the other thing, the drugs. We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela." Then Trump added something chilling. "We're looking at land operations too." Land operations. Translation: the CIA isn't just gathering intelligence. They're preparing for kinetic action, military action, regime change. And when a reporter pressed him, "Does the CIA have authority to take out Maduro?" Trump's response, "That's a ridiculous question for me to answer, but I think Venezuela is feeling heat." He didn't say no. He said it would be ridiculous to answer. That's called plausible deniability. And it's exactly what presidents said before Guatemala, before Chile, before every CIA coup in history. The legal mechanism. According to the New York Times, Newsweek, and CNN citing multiple U.S. officials, Trump signed what's called a presidential finding. A presidential finding is the legal document that authorizes the CIA to conduct covert operations. It's classified. Congress gets notified after the fact, not before. And this one, it authorizes lethal covert action. Let me break down what that means. Lethal means CIA can kill people. Covert means nobody knows it's the CIA. Action means not just spying, active operations. According to CNN sources, the operation has 2 objectives. Official objective, disrupt drug cartel networks operating from Venezuela. Real objective, remove Nicolas Maduro. And if you think I'm speculating, Axios reported, quoting administration officials that, quote, "regime change in Venezuela was the position of Trump's administration even before he took office." This was always the plan. The drug war? That's the cover story. The deployment. Since Trump signed that presidential finding, 12,000 U.S. troops deployed to the Caribbean, 10 boat strikes, 43 people killed. CIA paramilitary officers inserted into Venezuela, a $50 million bounty placed on Maduro. Special forces training anti-Maduro groups. This isn't preparation. This is phase 2 of a coup. And I can prove it to you by showing you what happened in every other CIA operation in Latin America. Here's what most people don't know. The CIA has overthrown 13 governments in Latin America since 1954. 13. And they all followed the same three-phase playbook. Let me show you the pattern, and then you'll see exactly where Venezuela is right now. The CIA three-phase playbook. Phase 1, destabilization, 6 to 18 months. First, you create chaos. You make the target government look weak, dangerous, or illegitimate. Tactics: economic warfare, sanctions, asset freezes, media propaganda, fund oppositional newspapers or radio, support opposition groups, training, funding, weapons, sabotage operations, infrastructure attacks blamed on government, amplify internal divisions. Phase 2, escalation, 3 to 6 months. You increase pressure until the government either collapses internally or provides justification for direct intervention. Tactics: assassination attempts on leaders, military provocations, airspace violations, naval shows of force, arming rebel groups, creating humanitarian crisis narrative, CIA officers on the ground coordinating with military factions. Phase 3, coup or invasion, days to weeks. The final push. Either the military turns on the leader or the US intervenes directly. Tactics: military coup by CIA-backed generals, or US military invasion with humanitarian justification. Immediate recognition of new government, flood of US aid to solidify new regime. Now let me show you this pattern in action. Guatemala, 1954. Operation PBS success. The target: President Jacobo Arbenz, democratically elected, implemented land reform. Phase 1, 1952 to 1953. CIA-funded propaganda portraying Arbenz as communist. Set up radio stations broadcasting anti-government messages. Funded oppositional political parties. Planted false news stories in international media. Phase 2, early 1954. CIA trained Guatemalan exiles in Honduras, supplied them with weapons and aircraft, conducted psychological warfare, fake invasion broadcasts, bombed Guatemala City, blamed on rebels. Phase 3, June 1954. CIA-backed force of 480 men invaded. It was tiny, but propaganda made it seem massive. Guatemalan military, convinced US would invade if they resisted, refused to fight. Arbenz resigned June 27, 1954. Carlos Castilla Armas, CIA-backed, took power. Result: 200,000 dead in subsequent civil war, 40-year military dictatorship. Chile, 1973. Operation Fubelt. The target: Salvador Allende, democratically elected socialist. Phase 1, 1970 to 1972. Nixon ordered the CIA to make the economy scream. CIA-funded strikes, created artificial food shortages, supported oppositional media. Newspaper El Mercurio received $1.5 million from the CIA, fostered military discontent. Phase 2, 1972-73. CIA identified General Augusto Pinochet as potential coup leader, provided intelligence and coordination support. Assassination of military chief René Schmieder, who opposed coups. Created sense of impending chaos. Phase 3, September 11, 1973. Military coup led by Pinochet. Allende found dead in the presidential palace. Pinochet established brutal dictatorship lasting 17 years. 3,000 plus killed, 40,000 plus tortured. Nicaragua, 1980s. Operation Contra. The target: Sandinista government. Phase 1. Reagan administration declared Sandinistas communist threat. CIA began recruiting anti-Sandinista rebels, the Contras. Propaganda campaign in the US and Latin America. Phase 2. CIA trained and armed Contra rebels. CIA mined Nicaraguan harbors, illegal under international law. Funded through illegal arms sales, the Iran-Contra scandal. 30,000 Nicaraguans killed. Phase 3. Never reached full coup. Scandal exposed operations, but destabilization achieved. The Sandinistas lost,
1990 election. The pattern is clear. Declare leader a threat, communist, narco-terrorist dictator, economic warfare and propaganda. Fund and arm opposition. CIA officers coordinate coup. Military betrays the leader or U.S. invades. Install friendly government. Now let me overlay this pattern onto Venezuela 2025. Phase 1. Complete. Maduro declared narco-terrorist. Check. Sanctions crippling economy. Check. Since 2019. Opposition leader recognized. Juan Guaido, 2019. Maria Corina Machado, now. Check. $50 million bounty on Maduro. Check. International propaganda campaign. Check. Phase 2. In progress right now. CIA authorized for lethal operations. Check. October 15, 2025. Military buildup. 12,000 troops. Check. Strikes creating tension. 43 dead. Check. CIA officers inserted into Venezuela. Check. Confirmed by Trump. Pending assassination attempts. Pending major provocation event. Phase 3. Predicted. 60 to 90 days. Predicted. Venezuelan military coup against Maduro. Predicted major incident triggering U.S. invasion. Predicted Maria Corina Machado installed as president. Predicted U.S. recognition within hours. I'm calling it now. We'll see a coup attempt before January 2026. And there's one declassified document that proves this is the plan. I'll show you in 18 minutes. Keep watching.
So, if this is a regime change operation, who's actually running it? Let me introduce you to the architects. The triumvirate. 1. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Marco Rubio isn't just Secretary of State. He's been obsessed with Venezuela for years. Rubio's Cuban American. His family fled Cuba after Castro's revolution. He views left-wing Latin American governments as existential threats. In 2019, Rubio publicly called for a military coup in Venezuela. He tweeted support for Juan Guaido and urged the Venezuelan military to do the right thing. When Maduro survived, Rubio called it a failure of will from Venezuela's military. Now he's Secretary of State, and he's not hiding his intentions. According to Newsweek, Rubio is leading the broader strategy to oust Maduro alongside the CIA director. 2. John Ratcliffe, CIA director. Ratcliffe was Trump's director of national intelligence in the first administration. Hardliner, China hawk, interventionist. Now he's running the CIA. Ratcliffe believes in aggressive covert action. He's publicly stated that the U.S. should kick off the gloves when dealing with adversaries. And according to CNN sources, Ratcliffe personally briefed Trump on the Venezuela operation and recommended authorization. 3. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. Hegseth is the most interesting piece. He's a former Army National Guard officer, Fox News personality. No traditional Pentagon experience before this appointment. But he's a loyalist, and he's publicly stated that the U.S. military should be used more aggressively against cartels. Hegseth announced the boat strikes personally. He called them the first strike at night, like he's proud of it. He's coordinating the military side, while Rubio and Ratcliffe handle the CIA operation. The CIA apparatus. But it's not just 3 guys. There's an entire apparatus. CIA Latin America Division handles intelligence gathering, operations planning, and coordination with Venezuelan opposition. Special Activities Center, SAC. This is the CIA's paramilitary arm. These are the guys who actually do regime change. SAC has 2 branches: Political Action Group, propaganda, funding opposition, election interference; Ground Branch, direct action, assassinations, military training, sabotage. Both are now operational in Venezuela. The opposition. On the Venezuelan side, the CIA is working with Maria Corina Machado, opposition leader, won 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, which is very convenient for the narrative.
McCady has called Maduro a criminal narco-terrorism structure. She's openly calling for international support to remove Maduro. In an interview with CNN's Christiane Amanpour on October 15th, McCady said, quote, "We need help from the international community, particularly the United States, to stop Maduro's war on Venezuela." That's not subtle. That's a public call for U.S. intervention. Venezuelan military defectors. The CIA is in contact with Venezuelan military officers willing to turn on Maduro. How do we know? Because that's always part of the playbook. In Chile, they flipped General Pinochet. In Guatemala, they got the military to refuse to fight. In Venezuela, they need at least one general to make the move. The funding. Where's the money coming from? Presidential finding operations are funded through the CIA's classified budget, approximately $15 billion annually, special appropriations from Congress, often hidden in defense spending, third-party funding, other countries contributing, likely Colombia, potentially others. For Guatemala in 1954, the budget was $7 million, about $80 million in today's dollars. For Venezuela, likely $100 to $500 million for the full operation. The timeline. According to the New York Times and CNN sources, the CIA has been preparing this operation since before Trump took office, meaning this was planned during the transition period, November 2024 to January 2025. The presidential finding was signed sometime in summer 2025. Operations began in September with the boat strikes. We're now in month 2 of active operations. If this follows the historical pattern, we have 1 to 4 months until the coup attempt. But here's the key question. Will the Venezuelan military actually turn on Maduro? Because that's what determines success or failure. In 14 minutes, I'll show you why the Venezuelan military might not cooperate and what that means for the operation.
Now here's where this gets really complicated. Because Maduro isn't Arbenz in Guatemala. He isn't Allende in Chile. He's survived multiple coup attempts already, and he's learned from history. The failed coups. 2019, Juan Guaido's failed uprising. Remember Juan Guaido? The U.S. recognized him as interim president in 2019. The Trump administration, first term, threw full support behind him. Economic pressure, diplomatic recognition, the works. The plan? Venezuelan military would defect, Guaido would take power, Maduro would flee. What actually happened? The military stayed loyal. Guaido's movement collapsed, and Maduro is still in power. Why did it fail? Because Maduro had already purged the military of potential coup plotters. 2020, Operation Gideon, Bay of Pigs 2.0. A group of American mercenaries and Venezuelan defectors attempted an amphibious invasion, led by former U.S. Green Beret Jordan Goudreau. The goal? Capture Maduro, install new government. What happened? Complete disaster. 8 killed, 13 captured. Venezuela paraded the American mercenaries on state TV. It was humiliating for the U.S. The Maduro survival strategy. So how has Maduro survived when so many other Latin American leaders fell to CIA operations? 1. Military loyalty through fear. Maduro has created a system where Venezuelan generals are complicit in the regime's crimes. They're involved in drug trafficking, corruption, embezzlement. If Maduro falls, they all go to prison. They have no incentive to flip. In Chile, military officers could say, "We were just following orders." In Venezuela, the generals are the drug cartel. They can't claim innocence. 2. Cuban intelligence support. Venezuela isn't alone. Cuban intelligence officers, trained by the Soviet KGB, advised Maduro's security apparatus. Cuba helped Venezuela build a surveillance state. They identified potential coup plotters. They created a system of informants within the military. This is why previous coups failed, because Cuban intelligence warned Maduro in advance. 3. Russian military support. And then there's Russia. Venezuela owes Russia billions in loans. Russia has major oil investments in Venezuela. If Maduro falls, Russia loses that influence. So Russia has armed Venezuela to the teeth. 5,000 Igla-S anti-aircraft missiles, 21 Su-30 fighter jets, S-300 air defense systems, Kh-31A anti-ship missiles, military advisors and trainers. As Maduro announced on October 23rd, we have 5,000 Igla-S missiles deployed even in the last mountain, the last town, and the last city. That's not a defensive posture. That's a deterrent. Message to the U.S., if you invade, we'll shoot down your aircraft. 4. Chinese economic support. China has invested $50+ billion in Venezuela. Oil contracts, infrastructure projects, loans. China doesn't want a U.S.-friendly government in Venezuela. So China provides economic lifelines when sanctions bite, diplomatic cover at the UN, technology for surveillance, alternative financial systems, bypassing U.S. sanctions. The strategic problem. So here's what the CIA faces. Unlike Guatemala or Chile, Venezuela has battle-tested security apparatus, survived multiple coups, external support from two major powers, Russia, China, advanced weapons systems, military leadership with no incentive to defect. The CIA's options. Option A, coup, requires military defection. Probability, 25%. Problem, Venezuelan military is more loyal to Maduro than militaries were in past coups. Option B, assassination. CIA takes out Maduro directly. Probability, 30%. Problem, Maduro has survived at least 3 known assassination attempts. Security is tight. Option C, invasion. U.S. military goes in directly. Probability, 15%. Problem, 5,000 Russian missiles. High U.S. casualties, international condemnation. Option D, long-term destabilization. Make the country ungovernable. Probability, 30%. Problem, this is what they've been doing since 2019. It hasn't worked. The wild card. But there's one scenario that could change everything. A major incident. A Venezuelan missile shoots down a U.S. aircraft. Americans die. Suddenly, Trump has political support for a full invasion. And that's what makes the current boat strikes so dangerous. The U.S. is deliberately creating opportunities for escalation. If a Venezuelan fires on a U.S. ship or aircraft, even in self-defense, the U.S. gets its casus belli, its justification for war. My analysis? The CIA is hoping for a Venezuelan overreaction that justifies the next phase.
All right, I promised you at the beginning that I'd show you a declassified CIA document that proves Venezuela is following the exact regime change playbook. Here it is. The document, this is a CIA memo from 1973, Operation Fubelt, the Chile coup. It was declassified in 2000 as part of the Church Committee investigations into CIA abuses. The document is titled Phases of Covert Action for Regime Change, and it lays out step by step how to overthrow a government without leaving fingerprints. Let me read you the key sections, and you tell me if this sounds familiar. Phase 1, Legitimacy Destruction. Quote, target government must be portrayed as illegitimate, dangerous, or aligned with hostile powers. Economic pressure, combined with media operations, will create domestic opposition and international support for intervention. Sound familiar? Venezuela. Maduro called narco-terrorist. International media campaign portraying Venezuela as failed state. Economic sanctions creating shortages. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado presented as legitimate alternative. Check. Phase 2. Escalation preparation. Quote, military presence in the region increases operational tempo. Direct action, strikes, sabotage creates a crisis atmosphere. Target government forced into defensive posture, appearing weak or aggressive depending on response. Sound familiar? 12,000 U.S. troops deployed to the Caribbean. 10 boat strikes, 43 dead, creating a crisis. Maduro forced to announce defensive missile deployment, making him look aggressive.
CIA officers inserted for coordination with internal opposition. Check. Phase 3. Triggering event. Quote, a precipitating incident, either organic or manufactured, provides justification for military support of coup. Target leader either flees, is captured, or is eliminated. Immediate recognition of successor government by the U.S. ensures international legitimacy. Sound familiar? We're waiting for the incident. It could be Venezuelan attack on U.S. forces, assassination attempt on American personnel, humanitarian crisis. The U.S. has already identified successor Maria Corina Machado. The U.S. will recognize new government within hours. We're here, right now, waiting for Phase 3 trigger. The Psychological Operation Manual. But there's more in this document. There's a section on psychological operations for target population. Quote, indigenous opposition must believe change is possible and inevitable. Target military must believe resistance is futile and cooperation is rewarded. International community must believe intervention is necessary and justified. Now look at what's happening. For Venezuelan opposition, Maria Corina Machado won Nobel Peace Prize, creates hope and legitimacy. U.S. publicly supporting opposition. Message, help is coming, change is inevitable. For Venezuelan military, U.S. offering amnesty to defectors. Messaging, Maduro will fall, protect yourselves. $50 million bounty on Maduro, someone will betray him for that. For international community, narco-terrorism narrative makes intervention seem necessary. Drug epidemic in the U.S. creates moral justification. Humanitarian concerns, refugees' economic collapse. Every element of the 1973 Playbook is being executed in Venezuela 2025. The prediction. Based on historical timelines from declassified operations, Guatemala, 1954, 18 months from authorization to coup. Chile, 1973, 3 years from initial operations to coup, but intensified in the final 6 months. Nicaragua, 1980s, multi-year campaign. Venezuela, 2025. If authorization was summer 2025 and operations began September 2025, I predict coup attempt December 2025 to February 2026. What will the trigger be? Most likely scenarios in order of probability. 1. Venezuelan attack on U.S. forces, 40% probability. A boat strike goes wrong, Venezuela fires on U.S. aircraft or ship in self-defense, Americans die, Trump has justification for escalation. 2. Assassination attempt on Maduro, 30% probability. CIA-backed operation to kill Maduro, presented as internal military coup, U.S. claims no involvement. 3. Manufactured crisis. False flag attack blamed on Maduro regime creates justification for intervention. 4. Economic collapse triggering humanitarian intervention, 10% probability. Sanctions cause complete economic failure. U.S. claims responsibility to protect Venezuelan people. What to watch for in the next 60 days. 1. Increase in boat strikes, creating more provocation opportunities. 2. High-level Venezuelan military defections, signs coup is being organized. 3. Major diplomatic push, U.S. rallying international support for action. 4. Troop movement in Colombia, preparation for invasion if coup fails. 5. Assassination attempt on Maduro or key regime figures. I'll be tracking all of these indicators. And here's the thing. Even if this coup attempt fails, like 2019 and 2020, the U.S. will just try again. Because the pattern shows the CIA doesn't give up. They just adjust tactics.
So here's where we are. The CIA is running a regime change operation in Venezuela right now. It follows the exact playbook from Guatemala, Chile, Nicaragua, and a dozen other countries. We're in Phase 2. The coup attempt is coming, probably within 90 days. The question isn't if they'll try,
The question is, will it work? My prediction? 60% chance of coup attempt by February 2026. 40% chance it succeeds. 60% chance it fails and creates a catastrophic regional crisis. But here's what matters most. The American people aren't being asked if they support this. Congress isn't debating it. The media is barely covering it. It's just happening. In the shadows, classified, covert. And by the time the public realizes what's happened, it'll be too late. The coup will succeed and we'll celebrate. Or it'll fail and we'll deal with the consequences. Either way, we won't have had a say. That's how CIA operations work. 70 years of regime change. Some successes, many failures, always consequences. And now, Venezuela. Watch the next 60 to 90 days carefully. When you see headlines about Venezuelan military coup attempt, Maduro assassination attempt, humanitarian crisis requiring U.S. intervention, U.S. forces attacked by Venezuelan military, remember, none of it is spontaneous. It's all part of the playbook. I'll be tracking every development, every strike, every defection, every provocation. Because this is history happening in real time. And unlike every other CIA operation in Latin America, you get to watch it unfold, if you know what to look for. If this investigation opened your eyes, subscribe and turn on all notifications. I'm posting updates as this develops, sometimes multiple times per day. Share this with everyone. Most people have no idea this is happening. They need to know. Drop a comment. Do you think the CIA should be doing this? Is regime change ever justified? What happens if it fails? This is Warfront Alert. The CIA is making history. We're documenting it. Stay vigilant.